Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex. It's Friday, so it's pick prediction day. Uh, Trying to keep this hot streak going. I'm not going to talk about all the previous weeks, but just the past 2 weeks. I'm 10-1 ATS, 5-1 last week, 5-0 the week before. So looking to keep that going. Got a little more as I continue to make changes to the channel. If you see here in the middle of your screen, you'll see line changes. So now I won't update real time. What you see on the screen as far as the games is the actual spreads as of today. Those line changes are what you're gonna see. Where you see line changes is from where the spread was on Monday to what it is today. And I'm just showing significant line changes here, right? So for example, LSU went from 13.5 to 15, and Clemson 13.5 to 15, so forth. So you guys kind of get the idea. So you kind of make your own picks and predictions based off of that information. If you like to know, if you base your stuff on where the money lies, it's up to you. But anyway, so without further ado, I'm gonna go get into I'm only gonna talk ATS picks from now on. You'll just see what my straight up picks there. I'll just make a quick comment about those as we go. But anyway, so on to Michigan, Penn State. This Michigan Penn State's an interesting game. So Penn State. I've talked about Drew Allard this season. I've talked about the running game this season and how they've been lacking. The running game is still lacking. I still don't see Nick Singleton being what he was predicted to be coming out of high school. Katron Allen is an okay back, but I haven't seen him really take that next step to being what he was predicted to be coming out of high school. So then you look at Drew Allard. I've commented on Drew Allard. You look at his numbers, 20 touchdowns, 1 pick this season, but I told you guys about him. He wasn't that guy, and you saw it in the game against Ohio State. I'm going to potentially start to change my opinion of Drew Allard. We'll see how this game goes. But Drew Allard, over the last 5 quarters, man, he's played much better football. Fourth quarter against Indiana, he threw a trash interception. But other than that, man, he came back next drive, hit a bomb that kind of put the game away. Then he played 4 quarters of good football against Maryland. I know I've talked about Maryland. Maryland does dumb things. Not a good defense, but he carved them up, and he was throwing dots. And Drew Allard hasn't played like that no matter who the opponent is. So he's played against worse teams in Maryland and didn't look really that good. So I'm just putting it out there. You might see an improved Drew Allard moving forward. And he was throwing dots out there, so I got to give it to him. On the Michigan side, man, I predicted Michigan. If you guys watched my preseason preview video, I said Michigan was going to go 9-0. It's not just because that they're good. It's because Michigan plays a terrible schedule. And they did play a terrible schedule, and they did go 9-0. Now, they didn't struggle against that schedule to show how dominant Michigan is. But yet and still, they played a bad schedule, so you kind of really don't know what you're getting out of Michigan. Then with all the, I guess you can say, the scandal going around Songate or whatever you want to call it, just found out within the past hour, Jim Harbaugh is basically banned from the sidelines, right? That kind of swayed my opinion in this game. I was originally saying that this was going to be a one touchdown win for Michigan. This is going to be a 1 possession game. So when I look at that 4.5 is kind of tough, but I was going to actually put this as an ATS pick, and I was going to lay the 4.5 and take Michigan, as I thought they could win something like 24-17. Now, I'm still picking Michigan because Michigan will have a more balanced offense than Penn State will, because I don't think Penn State's going to be able to run the ball consistently against Michigan, whereas I think Michigan will have better success on the ground against Penn State's front seven, even though it's a natty-type front seven. I still think with Blake Corum, he'll be able to complement JJ, who is just really coming into his own. JJ's looking like a potential first-round pick at some point in his career, right? So I'm still taking Michigan straight up, but I'm actually gonna take Penn State with the 4.5. Because like I said, I thought this was a one possession game. With the news of Harbaugh not being on the sidelines, I'm surprised the spread didn't even change. I'm still gonna go Penn State with the 4.5 at home. No head coach on the sideline for Michigan. A better Drew Allard. Chop Robinson's gonna be back. That's their best pass rusher for Penn State. I think they're gonna be in this game to the end. Wouldn't surprise me. Michigan won this game by 3. I'm taking Michigan to win, but I'm Penn State. I think is gonna be it into the end. So I'm taking Penn State 4.5. On to Bama, Kentucky. Now Bama, if you look at the line changes, opened at 10. Went to 11. It makes sense because the money should be on Alabama. I think Alabama is going to win this game. And I think the way this game is going to go is essentially you're looking at Kentucky with their run-based offense with Ray Davis. Not going to really be able to get success on the ground against an Alabama front seven that's shut down pretty much every running game. Outside of LSU with Jaden Daniels scrambling, which nobody can really shut down, but that's not Kentucky. They've shut down every running game, every running back cold, right? So Ray Davis in the Kentucky running game, I don't think it's going anywhere. So now it's up to the QB. The QB is Devin Leary, who I've talked about so many times on here as not being that guy. I got proven right time and time again. I told you guys, though, when the bye week came, I said, man, they probably had to work on their passing game because it's the weakest part of their team, and they did. They played very well passing the ball against Kentucky. They still lost the game, but the Kentucky passing game looked much improved. I think they kind of regressed last week's game against Mississippi State. Didn't look that strong. Didn't really need it to look that strong against a really bad Mississippi State team. But the reality is, what's Devin Leary going to do? Is he going to, the Kentucky running game is going to get probably less than 75 yards rushing, right? So is Devin Leary going to make up for that and going for like 275, 300 against Alabama? Unlikely. He hasn't. That's not going to. That's against this Alabama defense, and I know the secondary is probably where you can attack, but it's not a bad secondary, right? So I think Alabama defensively is going to really control Kentucky. So now it's just about how many points can the Bama offense really put up, and I think Alabama's running game, Kentucky's proven that you can run the ball on them. Alabama's running games with Chase McClellan and these guys, they're going to run the ball. Jalen Milroe is going to make plays running the ball as well, and he's going to hit a few passes downfield as well against this Kentucky defense. So I see Alabama winning this game. I see, you beating the spread probably by a possession. So what I mean by that, if it's 11 is the spread, I could see 27-10, right? Or I could see 34-17. That's kind of how I see this game going between Bama and Kentucky. But I think Bama wins, cruises on the road and covers that 11. So I'm taking Bama and laying the 11. Utah, Washington. I've talked about Washington. I've told you guys this is a team that's not looking like it's going to go 12-0. This is a team that's kind of teetering. They either play really good offense but bad defense, or really good defense but bad offense. That's what's been their story the past several weeks. They're going against a Utah team with probably the best defense they're going to face this season, right? The Utes can contain this Washington attack. I know you guys look at the Oregon game and you'll say, oh, but you said about Oregon got off on them. Oregon did get off on them, but Oregon's a better team than Washington. Oregon is the best team in the Pac-12, and yes, I know they lost on the road to Washington. They lost on a couple, I'll say 2 bad coaching decisions is the reason they lost that game on the road to Washington. In a rematch, when that moment comes in the Pac-12 championship game, which I'm assuming that's what it's going to be, these 2 teams, Oregon and Washington, well, we're going to see what's going to happen in that. But anyways, back to this. I think Washington's offense is going to have some issues with the Utah Utes defense. They're going to have some success, but they're going to have some issues. There's going to be some 3-and-outs in there. There's going to be some instances where they're going to have to punt the ball. Utah, I would really like it if Jaquinta Jackson was playing in this game. He exited last week against Arizona State with an ankle injury. They beat Arizona State by 52. I don't think they needed him, so I think that's why they sat him out. I can't be sure about that. They haven't ruled him out. He's just questionable. You won't find out until tomorrow. But even without Jaquinta Jackson, I think with Glover, I think they'll probably put Sione Vaki back in on offense to let him touch the ball, and I think they're going to use Nate Johnson, the backup quarterback, to run it. I think they're going to have some success on the ground against the Huskies in Seattle. And I think you're going to see Bryson Barnes, who, while I've talked about he's not really that great of a quarterback, he's good enough against this Washington secondary. And with Devon Vele and Money Parks, I think he's good enough to get around, let's say, 200 yards passing, which is going to really balance out that running game. I think Utah's going to be in this game to the end. Getting 9 on the road, I know it's on the road, and typically you want to take dogs when they're at home. I'm not taking Utah to win this game straight up, but I'm taking Utah with the +9. I think Utah stays within striking distance of the Huskies. In the end, Michael Penix too much, and the Huskies win. We'll see what happens next week in Corvallis. Get to that. Tennessee at Missouri. So this is a game that was a 1.5. It's gone up to 2.5. So Tennessee, can they go on the road and beat Missouri by a field goal? Tennessee, I believe, has put 60 points on Missouri over the last 2 years. Missouri has an issue with this Josh Heupel offense. Now, this Tennessee offense isn't the same as it typically is, right? They're more run-based than pass-based, but they can pass the ball. I think Joe Milton has grown passing the ball as the season has gone along. And Tennessee, I'm going to say, they got an elite running game. All right, they're going to be able to run the ball against Missouri in this game, and they're going to find some success passing the ball. But the biggest thing for me is I think that this Missouri, you guys know how it is. You watch college football, man. Letdowns happen. Missouri put it all on the line to beat Georgia last week, and they were this close, right, to beating Georgia. You got to have a letdown. I know they're at home, but you got to have a letdown. And I think Tennessee is, before Missouri gets over that letdown, Tennessee is going to get out to an early lead in this game. I think Tennessee gets out to an early lead in this game. They hold on. I don't know if it's going to be by 3, but I think they're going to cover. And I don't know if Missouri might stay within striking distance, but I don't think they're ever going to be in a situation where you think, oh, Missouri might win this game. So I think Tennessee covers a 2.5. All right, here we go. Florida at LSU. This went from 13.5 to 15. Did this move on the news that, Jaden Daniels is going to play? Now, this is a weird game to me because Jaden Daniels, 6 days ago at this point, had a concussion. It's reported that he had a concussion against Alabama. 7 days later, he's going to play a game. I just don't see it. Now, they're saying he practiced on Thursday, but they still haven't said he's cleared protocol. And today, Friday, at 5:42 p.m. Eastern Time, I've yet to read that Jaden Daniels has cleared concussion protocol. So I'm basing this, my pick here is based on the assumption that Jaden Daniels will miss the game. Jaden Daniels misses the game. Logan Diggs, their starting running back, has already been ruled doubtful for the game. That's a big blow to their running game. That he's been an underrated piece to that LSU offense this year that people don't really realize. And then with the defensive injuries they've had, LSU's kind of a beat-up team, and people don't really realize it. So this is a disclaimer game for me. If Jaden Daniels doesn't play, I'm taking Florida straight up. I'm taking Florida straight up in this game because he hasn't cleared concussion protocol yet. The Florida Gator offense is better than what it was earlier in the season. They have their defensive issues, and this sets up nicely for LSU, a team with an explosive offense. But I think you're going to see there have been some situations where Florida's defense has played better, but they've just made freshman mistakes because they got a lot of young guys in there. The Florida Gator offense is going to be able to move the ball against LSU. They're going to be able to run it on them. They're going to be able to throw it on them. LSU is going to have to be able to keep pace with Nussmeier at quarterback, and I don't know if they really can do that. So that's my disclaimer. I'm taking Florida straight up in this game if Daniels misses the game. Now, if Daniels plays, I don't think he's going to be 100%. 7 days after concussion, I think they're going to protect him. I've seen it happen before where QBs get protected. In fact, I believe it was in this game years ago, Florida versus LSU. Tim Tebow came off a concussion that he got against Kentucky. Florida won that game 13-3, and they protected Tebow the whole game. It was not the same Tim Tebow that you're used to seeing. So I just can't see Dayton's playing. But if they play him, he can't be playing the same way. I just don't see it unless he really didn't have a concussion last week, which I got to take him at their word that he did. So if Daniels plays, I'm still taking Florida with the 15, but I'll take LSU straight up. but I will take Florida with the 15 if Daniels plays. Okay, on to USC, Oregon. All right, USC just fired their defense coordinator, Alex Grinch, right? They got to go against the best team in the Pac-12, a team that I believe should be in the 4 spot for the college football playoff. I know if you're looking at it, you see Florida State there at the 4 spot. Oregon would murder Florida State. Just my opinion, but they would murder them. I've seen these situations where a defensive coordinator gets fired mid-season. That next week, that defense looks lost. They look lost. Guys aren't playing their assignment. Some guys aren't playing hard. And now you got to go on the road in Austin to the best team in the Pac-12 that was probably going to beat you by 15 plus anyway if you kept Alex Grinch. Now you got guys who aren't used to calling plays. I don't see it. I see Dan Lanning having a scheme set up where he can kind of contain Caleb. And I think Bo Nix and that offense is going to get 50 plus on the board. I'm taking Oregon, and I'm saying they're covering. And then just real quick on my straight-up picks, I got Georgia beating Ole Miss straight up. Lane Kiffin hasn't won a big game yet. I'm not going to pick him to do it this week. I think Oklahoma gets right after losing 2 straight on the road. They come back home. They should be able to beat West Virginia. Not sure if they cover, but it's going to be close. Clemson, I think Clemson is going to have some success in this game against Georgia Tech. They're going to keep that ball rolling that they had with their big win against Notre Dame. Look out for Cade Klubnik. The offense will play much better in this week. And then Florida State, Miami is rivalry week for them, rivalry game. It's going to be too much Florida State offense in this one. Miami might be actually benching their quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke. The guy's seeing ghosts right now. He's just throwing so many interceptions. I think a benching is coming, and it might happen in this game. But anyways, so that's my picks. That's my predictions. If you guys like the content, please like, follow, subscribe, all of that. And you're going to see my YouTube handle here in a few seconds. Take care.